Dear friend, welcome to Books and More, a place where we summarize the original core ideas from great books, helping you save reading time while still capturing the essential insights. In this video, we explore The 4-Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferriss, a well-known book that challenges how we think about work, income, and life. The book does not promote laziness. Instead, it introduces a new mindset, eliminating what is unnecessary, automating work, and intentionally designing your life. If you have ever felt busy but not truly free, this content is for you. Introduction. This book is written for people who feel constantly busy yet felt they are not truly living. It is not meant for those who want to climb the traditional career ladder by working longer hours, sacrificing health, time, and the most energetic years of their lives. It is written for those who have started to question the default script: work relentlessly now, postpone life, and hope that freedom will arrive someday in the distant future. The idea behind this book was born from personal frustration. I followed the rules. I worked harder than most people around me, built a business, chased efficiency, and pursued what society defines as success. On paper, everything looked right. In reality, my life became smaller, not bigger. I earned more money, but lost control over my time. I gained responsibility, but lost freedom. What I had built did not serve me, it trapped me. This book does not argue against work, ambition, or achievement. It challenges the assumption that work must dominate life in order to justify success. The modern world glorifies busyness as a sign of importance. Being overwhelmed is worn like a badge of honor. Yet very few people stop to ask whether this constant activity actually leads to a meaningful or satisfying life. Productivity has replaced purpose, and endurance has replaced intention. Most people believe they want to be rich. When examined closely, this is rarely true. What people actually want is what they believe wealth provides: autonomy, flexibility, experiences, and the ability to choose how their days unfold. Money itself is not the end goal, it is merely a tool. Confusing the tool for the destination leads to a lifetime spent accumulating resources without ever using them to live fully. This book introduces a different definition of wealth. True wealth is the ability to control your time and mobility. It is the freedom to decide where you live, how you work, and what you prioritize. This idea forms the foundation of what I call the new rich. They do not wait until retirement to enjoy life. They do not measure success by hours worked or titles earned. They focus on designing a life that allows freedom now, not later. The traditional retirement model assumes that life is something to be postponed. You sacrifice your healthiest years in exchange for the promise of rest at the end. This trade is deeply flawed. There is no guarantee of health, energy, or even time when retirement finally arrives. Life is happening now, and deferring fulfillment until an uncertain future often leads to regret rather than reward. Throughout this book, I will challenge assumptions you may have never questioned: that you must work long hours to be valuable, that physical presence equals productivity, and that stability is safer than flexibility. Many of these beliefs exist not because they are true, but because they are convenient for systems that benefit from predictability and compliance. This is not a promise of instant freedom or effortless success. It is an invitation to think critically about how you spend your limited time. The strategies in this book are based on experimentation, mistakes, and real-world application. They are designed to help you eliminate what does not matter, automate what can be systemized, and liberate yourself from unnecessary constraints. You do not need to quit your job, abandon responsibility, or reject ambition. You need to redefine it. The goal is not to escape work, but to ensure that work serves your life instead of consuming it. Freedom is not something you earn after decades of sacrifice. It is something you build deliberately, step by step, starting with how you think. Consider this introduction an invitation to pause, to question, to imagine alternatives that may seem unconventional, but are entirely possible. If you have ever felt that life is moving too fast, while meaning slips through your fingers, then this book is for you. It does not offer certainty, but it offers something far more valuable: choice. Part 1. Definition. This part exists for one essential reason. Before you change how you work, you must change how you define success. Most people never pause to examine what they are actually pursuing. They inherit goals from society, family, and culture, then spend decades chasing them without asking whether those goals lead to the life they truly want. Part 1 is an invitation to step back and question the rules of the game before continuing to play it. For years, I believed success followed a simple formula: work harder than everyone else, sacrifice now, and enjoy life later. I pursued promotions, longer hours, and increased. Part 1. Definition. This part exists for one essential reason. Before you change how you work, you must change how you define success. Most people never pause to examine what they are actually pursuing. They inherit goals from society, family, and culture, then spend decades chasing them without asking whether those goals lead to the life they truly want. Part 1 is an invitation to step back and question the rules of the game before continuing to play it. For years, I believed success followed a simple formula: work harder than everyone else, sacrifice now, and enjoy life later. I pursued promotions, longer hours, and increasing responsibility, assuming that each step forward brought me closer to freedom. What I discovered instead was a moving finish line. Every increase in income came with greater demands on my time. Every step up the ladder tightened my schedule rather than expanding my choices. I was not becoming free. I was becoming more efficiently trapped. The core mistake most people make is confusing money with wealth. Money is easy to measure, so it becomes the default scorecard. But money alone does not buy freedom. Many high earners have less control over their time than those who earn far less. True wealth is not about how much you make. It is about how much of your life you control. If your income depends entirely on your constant presence, your freedom is fragile, no matter how impressive your paycheck looks. This realization leads to a fundamental redefinition of wealth. Wealth is the ability to choose. It is the freedom to decide when you work, where you work, and how much of your time is spent on things that matter to you. This definition shifts the focus from accumulation to design. Instead of asking how to earn more, the better question becomes, how little do I need to live the life I want? Part 1 introduces the concept of the new rich. The new rich are not defined by net worth or social status. They are defined by flexibility and autonomy. They reject the idea that enjoyment must be postponed in retirement. Instead, they distribute periods of freedom and recovery throughout their lives. They value experiences over possessions and time over titles. Their goal is not to escape work entirely, but to ensure that work supports their ideal lifestyle rather than dictating it. One of the biggest obstacles to this way of thinking is fear. Fear of instability, fear of judgment, fear of failure, and fear of stepping off the conventional path. Society rewards conformity and labels deviation as irresponsibility. Yet the so-called safe path often carries its own risks: burnout, regret, and a life spent waiting for permission to live. When examined closely, many fears are exaggerated assumptions rather than realistic outcomes. Another critical idea in this section is the hidden cost of the traditional career model. Jobs often demand far more than the hours listed on a contract. Commuting, mental exhaustion, constant availability, and emotional stress quietly consume large portions of life. These costs are rarely calculated, yet they significantly reduce overall well-being. When time is treated as unlimited, it is spent carelessly. When time is recognized as finite, priorities become clearer. Part 1 also challenges the belief that productivity equals value. Being busy has become synonymous with being important. Long hours are praised, even when results are mediocre. This mindset encourages inefficiency, not excellence. True effectiveness comes from focusing on high-impact actions rather than maximizing effort. Doing less, when done strategically, often produces better outcomes than doing more indiscriminately. A crucial shift introduced here is the idea of lifestyle design. Instead of fitting life around work, work is shaped to support life. This requires clarity. What does an ideal day look like? Where do you want to live? How much time do you want to dedicate to relationships, learning, health, and rest? These questions are rarely asked because they expose the gap between how people live and how they want to live. Avoiding them keeps discomfort at bay, but it also prevents change. This part does not offer tactics yet. It offers perspective. Without redefining success, any attempt to optimize work will simply make an unsatisfying life more efficient. Many people climb the ladder only to discover it is leaning against the wrong wall. The tragedy is not failure, but success in the wrong direction. Part 1 also emphasizes that freedom does not require extraordinary talent, luck, or rebellion. It requires intentional thinking and a willingness to question defaults. Small shifts in definition can produce massive changes in behavior. When success is measured by control rather than compensation, decisions naturally align with freedom. This section encourages experimentation rather than blind commitment. You do not need to make irreversible decisions. You need to test assumptions. What happens if you reduce expenses? What happens if you value time more aggressively? What happens if you design income around results rather than hours? These are practical questions rooted in a new mental framework. Ultimately, Part 1 sets the foundation for everything that follows. It clears away outdated definitions that keep people trapped in cycles of postponement. It replaces them with a more honest measure of wealth, one based on time, choice, and intention. Without this shift, the strategies in later sections would be misunderstood or misused. If there is one message to take from this part, it is this: you are not obligated to live by rules you did not consciously choose. You do not need to wait decades to deserve freedom. You can begin redefining success now, and in doing so, begin reclaiming control over your life. Part 2: Elimination. This part is built on a truth that most people instinctively resist. The problem is not a lack of time, but an excess of unimportant activity. Before you can gain freedom, increase income, or redesign your life, you must subtract. If you try to build a new way of living on top of old habits of busyness, you will only create a more efficient version of the same trap. For years, I believed that doing more meant progressing. I measured my value by how full my schedule was, how many emails I answered, and how many problems I solved in a day. I mistook motion for progress. The harder I worked, the more indispensable I felt, and the less freedom I had. What I did not realize was that most of what occupied my time produced little real value. It existed because of habit, expectation, or fear, not necessity. Elimination begins with the realization that not all tasks are created equal. In fact, very few actions produce meaningful results. A small number of efforts generate the majority of outcomes, while the rest consume time without proportionate return. Yet most people devote their days to low-impact tasks because they are easy, familiar, and socially rewarded. Busyness feels productive, even when it is not. That illusion is one of the most dangerous enemies of freedom. One of the central confusions in modern work is the difference between what is urgent and what is important. Urgent tasks demand immediate attention. They create noise, pressure, and anxiety. Important tasks, on the other hand, often lack urgency. They are quiet, strategic, and easy to postpone. When your schedule is dominated by urgency, you lose the ability to think long-term. You become reactive rather than deliberate. Over time, this erodes both effectiveness and satisfaction. Information is one of the greatest sources of unnecessary urgency. News, emails, notifications, meetings, and constant updates create the impression that you must stay informed to stay relevant. In reality, most of the information people consume does not improve decision-making or quality of life. It increases stress, fragments attention, and fills mental space that could be used for thinking and creativity. We mistake consumption for awareness and call it responsibility. This part introduces the idea of a deliberate reduction in information intake, not as an act of ignorance, but as an act of discipline. When you remove constant input, clarity increases. You begin to notice what actually matters. You do not need to know everything that is happening. You only need to know what affects your goals, your values, and your responsibilities. Everything else is noise. A major fear that prevents elimination is the fear of missing out. People worry that if they do not respond immediately, attend every meeting, or stay constantly available, opportunities will disappear. In practice, the opposite is often true. When you reduce availability, others become more selective in their requests. Many problems solve themselves. Many demands vanish when they are no longer instantly rewarded with your attention. Elimination also requires setting boundaries, which is uncomfortable for many people. We are conditioned to equate availability with professionalism and responsiveness with value. But constant availability destroys focus and reinforces the belief that your time belongs to others. When you allow external demands to dictate your schedule, you surrender control over your life. Boundaries are not selfish. they are essential. This part does not promote doing less indiscriminately. It promotes doing what matters deliberately. That requires identifying the few activities that produce the greatest impact and eliminating or minimizing everything else. Long task lists create overwhelm and dilute focus. A short list of high-impact actions creates momentum and meaning. The goal is not to fill time, but to protect it. Another uncomfortable truth addressed here is that busyness often serves as avoidance. Many people stay busy to avoid difficult decisions, meaningful risks, or deep thinking. Small tasks become a shield against larger questions. Elimination removes that shield. When distractions disappear, you are forced to confront what you truly want to do with your time. This can feel unsettling, but it is also where real change begins. Elimination is not only external, it is psychological. When you stop doing certain things, you may experience guilt, anxiety, or restlessness. These emotions are not signs of failure. They are signs of withdrawal from habits that once defined your sense of importance. Many people derive identity from being busy. When busyness disappears, they must redefine themselves in more honest ways. This part emphasizes that elimination is preparation, not the final goal. You are creating space for thinking, strategy, creativity, and choice. Without space, freedom is impossible. A crowded life cannot be redesigned. It can only be endured. Subtraction creates the conditions for intentional living. Every commitment carries an opportunity cost. Saying yes to one thing is saying no to something else, whether you acknowledge it or not. If you do not choose consciously, your choices will be made for you by habit, expectation, or urgency. Elimination is the act of reclaiming that choice. Part 2 also challenges the belief that long hours equal dedication. In many environments, inefficiency is rewarded because time, not results, is measured. This creates a culture where people expand tasks to fill available time. Limiting time forces prioritization. Constraints, when applied intentionally, increase effectiveness rather than reduce it. The purpose of elimination is not minimalism for its own sake. It is alignment. When your actions align with your values and goals, effort feels lighter and progress feels meaningful. When they do not, even small tasks become exhausting. Eliminating misaligned commitments restores energy and focus. If Part 1 redefined what success means, Part 2 demands that your behavior reflect that new definition. It is not enough to believe that time matters more than money. You must act accordingly. This requires courage, honesty, and repeated adjustment. Elimination is not a one-time purge. It is an ongoing practice. The central message of this part is simple but transformative. You do not lack time. You lack selectivity. When you remove what does not matter, what remains gains clarity and power. By eliminating the trivial, you make space for the essential, and that space is where freedom begins. Part 3. Automation. This part is written for the moment when you begin to see that freedom is not achieved by working less alone, but by changing the structure behind your work. After redefining success and eliminating what does not matter, the next question becomes unavoidable. How do you prevent life from filling back up again with obligations, demands, and dependency on your constant presence? Automation is the answer, not as a technical trick, but as a fundamental shift in how you think about work, income, and value. Most people believe they are indispensable. They think that if they step away, everything will collapse. I believed this too. I thought my involvement was the glue holding everything together. What I later realized was uncomfortable. The more essential I felt, the more trapped I became. When every decision, approval, and problem required my attention, I was not running a business or a career. I was running myself into exhaustion. Being indispensable is not a strength, it is a liability. Automation begins with the understanding that your goal is not to build something big, but something resilient. Size is irrelevant if it consumes your life. What matters is whether your system can function without you. Freedom does not come from owning more responsibility. It comes from designing systems that reduce dependence on your time. If your income stops the moment you stop working, you have not built freedom, you have built a fragile arrangement. One of the central ideas in this part is separating income from hours worked. Time is finite, energy is finite. If your earnings are directly tied to how many hours you put in, your growth will always be capped. Automation challenges the assumption that value must be delivered personally and repeatedly. Instead of selling time, You begin to sell results, systems, or outcomes. This shift changes everything. Many people resist this idea because it threatens their sense of identity. If you are no longer the one doing everything, who are you? The answer is simple but unsettling. You become the designer instead of the operator. Your value moves upstream, from execution to architecture. This does not reduce your importance, it elevates it, but it requires letting go of control. Automation does not mean eliminating human involvement. It means using human effort strategically rather than constantly. One of the most effective tools discussed in this part is delegation and outsourcing. This is often misunderstood as a luxury reserved for large companies. In reality, small, focused operations benefit the most. When you outsource low-value, repetitive, or time-consuming tasks, you reclaim mental space for decisions that actually matter. The barrier to outsourcing is rarely cost. It is trust and ego. People assume that others will not do the job as well as they do. This may be true in some cases, but perfection is rarely required. The question is not whether someone else can do it exactly your way, but whether the outcome meets your standard. When you focus on defining outcomes instead of micromanaging processes, delegation becomes possible. Automation also depends on standardization. When every task is handled differently each time, nothing can be delegated or systemized. Creating clear rules, templates, and procedures removes the need for constant decision-making. This reduces errors, speeds execution, and frees attention. Each decision you eliminate is energy saved for something more important. A hidden benefit of automation is decision reduction. Most people underestimate how exhausting constant decision-making is. When your day is filled with small choices, your ability to think strategically erodes. Automation replaces repeated decisions with predefined rules. You no longer ask yourself what to do each time. The system answers for you. This is not rigidity, it is efficiency. This part also addresses a common mistake: waiting for a system to be perfect before implementing it. Perfection is the enemy of automation. Systems are built through iteration, not planning alone. A flawed system that exists can be improved. A perfect system that exists only in your head does nothing. Automation is a process of testing, observing, and refining, not a one-time project. Another misconception is that automation leads to passivity. In reality, it leads to choice. When systems handle routine operations, you gain the freedom to decide how to engage. You can choose to focus on growth, creativity, learning, or rest. You can work more or less, but the difference is that it becomes voluntary. Work becomes something you do because it aligns with your goals, not because it demands your presence. Automation also reveals inefficiencies that were previously hidden by effort. When you remove yourself from the process, weak points become obvious. This clarity allows improvement. When everything depends on you, problems remain invisible because you compensate for them constantly. Automation forces honesty. A key theme in this part is leverage. Effort without leverage is exhausting. Automation is leverage applied to time. It allows one action to produce results repeatedly, without repeated effort. This is the foundation of scalable freedom. You stop trading hours for outcomes and begin building assets that continue working in your absence. This part is not about building massive companies or chasing exponential growth. It is about building enough income, enough stability, enough freedom. Automation supports sufficiency, not excess. When your system produces what you need without constant input, you regain control over your life. There is also an emotional challenge in automation: letting go of being needed. Many people derive self-worth from constant involvement. Automation threatens that identity. But when you move beyond it, you discover a deeper form of value, one based on clarity, vision, and intentional choice rather than exhaustion. Part 3 reinforces that freedom is not the absence of work, but the absence of compulsion. Automation removes compulsion. It replaces urgency with structure and chaos with design. It allows life to expand instead of constantly reacting. If Part 1 changed how you define success, and Part 2 cleared the space needed for change, Part 3 builds the mechanism that sustains freedom. Without automation, elimination is temporary. Life will refill with demands. Automation ensures that what you remove stays removed. The core message of this part is clear. If your life requires your constant presence to function, it is not free. Freedom begins when systems work for you instead of the other way around. Automation is not about escaping responsibility. It is about redesigning it so that your time is spent where it truly matters. This part invites you to stop asking how hard you can work and start asking how intelligently you can design. When you do, you move from being trapped inside your work to standing above it. And from that position, real freedom becomes possible. Part 4. Liberation. This part is written for the moment when freedom stops being an idea and starts becoming a lived reality. After redefining success, eliminating what does not matter, and building systems that function without constant oversight, the final question remains: what will you do with the freedom you have created? Liberation is not about escape or rebellion. It is about stepping outside invisible constraints and learning how to live intentionally once those constraints no longer dictate your choices. Many people imagine freedom as rest. They assume that once obligations disappear, life will naturally feel full and satisfying. In practice, the opposite often happens. When schedules open and pressure lifts, uncertainty appears. Without external structure, people confront an unfamiliar question: who am I without constant busyness? This discomfort is not a failure of freedom, it is the beginning of responsibility. Liberation requires courage because it challenges deeply embedded beliefs about work, stability, and identity. Society teaches that deviation from the traditional path is risky and irresponsible. Quitting a stable job, working remotely, or designing a life around flexibility rather than permanence is often viewed with suspicion. These beliefs persist not because they are universally true, but because they support systems that depend on predictability and compliance. This part emphasizes that liberation does not always begin with quitting. Often, it begins with renegotiation. When results matter more than presence, flexibility becomes possible. Many limits exist only because they have never been tested. When you demonstrate value without constant availability, you gain leverage to redefine how and where you work. Liberation is frequently incremental, not dramatic. One of the central ideas explored here is the concept of distributed retirement. Instead of postponing rest and enjoyment until the end of life, you insert periods of deep recovery and exploration throughout it. These breaks are not indulgences, they are investments. They restore perspective, prevent burnout, and reconnect you with curiosity and purpose. Life is not meant to be endured and then enjoyed, it is meant to be lived continuously. Travel is presented not as consumption, but as disruption of assumptions. Changing environments exposes how many needs are actually habits tied to place and routine. When context shifts, priorities clarify. You often realize that fulfillment requires far less than you assumed. Liberation in this sense is not about gaining more, but about needing less. Liberation also involves releasing the need for validation. When you step off conventional paths, you lose familiar markers of success. Titles, promotions, and visible busyness no longer define you. This can provoke doubt and criticism from others. Their discomfort is often a reflection of unresolved questions in their own lives. Liberation demands that you stop asking for permission to live differently. A major theme of this part is the relationship between freedom and work. Liberation does not imply the absence of effort. In fact, many people work more creatively and passionately once they are free. The difference is motivation. Work becomes a choice rather than an obligation. When compulsion disappears, engagement becomes authentic. This section also explores identity. When you are no longer defined by your job or schedule, you must define yourself by values, relationships, and pursuits. This can feel destabilizing at first, but it opens space for a more integrated sense of self, one that is not dependent on constant achievement or external approval. Liberation includes the freedom to return. Many people fear change because they believe it must be permanent. This fear paralyzes action. In reality, freedom includes reversibility. You can experiment, adjust, and recalibrate. Knowing that you can return if needed reduces risk and increases confidence. Life is not a single irreversible decision. It is a series of designs. Another important idea is that liberation requires structure of a different kind. When external schedules disappear, self-discipline becomes essential. Freedom without intention leads to drift. Liberation asks you to design rhythms, boundaries, and priorities that support well-being rather than undermine it. Responsibility increases, not decreases. This part challenges the belief that security comes from rigidity. True security comes from adaptability. Skills, systems, and self-awareness create resilience. When you can adjust quickly to change, uncertainty becomes manageable rather than threatening. Liberation is not the absence of risk, it is the ability to navigate it. Part 4 also addresses the emotional aftermath of freedom. Without constant urgency, unresolved desires and fears surface. This is not something to avoid, it is something to confront. Liberation reveals what matters. It strips away distractions and forces honesty. This process can be uncomfortable, but it leads to clarity. If there is a defining message in this part, it is that freedom is not a reward for endurance. It is a choice that can be made far earlier than most people believe. The greatest risk is not trying something new. It is spending a lifetime living according to rules you never consciously chose. Liberation is not an endpoint. It is a beginning. It marks the transition from living reactively to living deliberately. It requires ongoing reflection, adjustment, and commitment. But it also offers something rare and powerful: authorship of your own life. This part invites you to step forward, not away, to engage with the world on your own terms, to design a life that reflects your values rather than inherited expectations. Freedom, once created, must be lived, and living it well is the ultimate responsibility and the ultimate privilege. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe so it can reach more people. Thank you so much for watching. Wishing you a wonderful and happy evening with your family. Goodbye, and see you again in our next videos.